Frank J. Avella with the Contending. Noah Pritzker's Ex-Husbands is a delightful new indie boasting a rich, nuanced performance by James Norton, who I am so pleased to be speaking with today. Welcome, James.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Nice to chat with you again. So, Ex-Husbands, I love this film. I really did. I feel like it hits all the right notes and it's understated in like the best ways.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's why I loved the script. I loved the process of making it. I mean, Noah Pritzker's a genuine class act. Like he really knows how to make a movie. His first movie, Quitters, I loved, and I knew, having seen that this is the kind of tone that I wanted to achieve from the script. And it's kind of sad but rare that you get to make a movie like this anymore. You know, it's very undramatic in a way. It's very calm and quiet and contained, and occasionally I a bit like Noah Special. We were just talking before we jumped on. I mean, that it's rare that you get to make those kind of movies, I think. And so when you do get the opportunity and the script lands on your desk, at least I jump. And It's a type of performance that I really enjoy, getting so specific and so detailed in the nuance. The opposite to kind of big broad brushstrokes, which I think a lot of storytelling now leans into. So um, we were blessed with an amazing cast: Griffin Dunn, Miles Heiser, and everyone, Rosanna Arquette, Richard Benjamin. Just everyone sort of singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of the tone that they wanted to achieve, I think.
Yeah, and it's character driven, which I mean we really get to know these people, but not necessarily through the dialogue. Like I felt like I was reading faces, body language, and what they didn't say more than anything else. We got to fill in blanks.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Noah is very sparing in both language, the dialogue, and again, as a sort of second film, a lot of the times people feel like they need to kind of throw in their signature and either a gag or a big self-conscious decision, something which or a reference to a previous movie which they loved. And Noah's very light touch. He really puts the characters first, foremost, right, front and center, and trusts the actors. And there's a kind of mutual trust as well because as an actor, you can sometimes feel a little bit kind of what's the word? You feel at sea when you're not allowed to kind of grab onto any type of sort of signpost. I mean, Nick is a man dealing with depression, double depression as he's diagnosed with, whatever that is, and he's clearly sort of had this life of expectation and pressure and falling short all the time. He's a brilliant child. It's very very familiar character. I think we've all met a Nick in our life. And we meet him at a point where he's kind of hollowed out and also grieving this relationship that has fallen apart, this engagement. And in a lesser director, you'd have a breakdown, you'd have some kind of big payoff scene, and he never gives it to you. And as a result, it's a really nuanced, interesting version of that type of depression. It's sort of a man hollowed out, unable to process the grief through tears and through demonstrative pain. It's actually someone who's just got nothing left. And that was really interesting and brave as far as a portrayal of that type of kind of pain and grief.
And the relationships, the father and the Miles's character, the three of you were so believable. And I think the way Noah put together, the film, that ending for me was just so powerful. I'm not going to say what it is because it's also very nuanced.
Yeah. I mean, what helped was well, a wonderful script. What also helped was that we were in Mexico all together, and again, a rare, which is crazy that this should be rare, but we got time before we started shooting to discuss and to rehearse, and we all went out to Mexico City a little early. I guess it helped that it was in Mexico City, so everyone was like, "Yeah, I'll come a week early or 2 weeks early." We all had we had such a good time, but we really and because we weren't able to go home at the end of the day, and we were in Mexico City, and we were going out and eating in these amazing restaurants, we really built a genuine rapport, and we all got on really well. I know that lots of people say that about movies and say, "Oh, we had such a great time." We promise you, we really did. Like we're all such close friends now, and that affection, that genuine connection, was then fed into the movie, and it gave a sense of a history, as you're saying, a kind of, even characters like Rachel, who plays my Rhea, the fiance, and Rosanna Arquette, who come in for a few scenes here and there. I don't know, there was a sense of embedded history. And yeah, I mean, you really do get a sense of their dynamic, which was off camera as well. You know, Griffin, Miles, and I, we were on a jolly through Mexico, and so yeah, it always helps when you've got that off camera as well.
I love, and I don't think this is giving anything away. I love how you're wearing the same suits at the very end.
I know. I know the way it's bookended in New York as well. It's a New York film. You know, we actually presented the film last night for the first time in New York, and it was very special to do that because it feels, despite the fact that most of the film is shot in Tulum in Mexico City, it feels like a very New York movie, and the humor and the tone that you're talking about, that kind of very light touch, that kind of again, the sort of rare quality in a film, which you see less and less, does feel quite specific to New York storytelling in a way. And so to have those scenes at the end and the beginning, and particularly one in the cemetery and then by the waterfront with Statue of Liberty in the background, just yeah, it's cool. I'm not from New York, but it felt oddly nostalgic for me, even not being a New Yorker. Its relationship with the city.
Oh, very much so. And also the Griffin Dunn Roseanne Arquette reunion
Of
with
course.
After Hours. I mean, is like coming full circle, like where the relationship might have gone.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? I know because yeah. She's amazing. I gotta say she's hardly on for many scenes, but brought such a depth to that character. And when we get into that Volvo and the family drives off to the cemetery, we felt that even on set, a real sense of a history there, which is very special.
It's funny. I think Nick has a line about experimental movies. And I think it's his defining line. He says something like, I think that's where I am in my life.
Yeah.
The whole thing's gonna be like this."
Yeah. I love that line. You get a point in that point in an experimental movie when you realize that the whole thing is going to be like this. That's where I am in my life. Oh fuck, the whole thing is going to be like this. Yeah, it's a great line.
It
Yeah,
is very much. I want to mention Joy because I got to watch Joy, and I was surprised at how moved I was by it. What was your experience like working on the film?
great, lovely. I mean, yeah, it's funny comparing this to Joy. Joy is it's a sort of bigger story in terms of the kind of the way it was told. You know, it's an inch or two off the ground tonally in comparison to this, which you know. Um, what I loved, going back to ex-husbands, but Noah had moments in the film where you can see there was a choice to go down a kind of gag or a line, and he never does. He always takes it into the more authentic, truthful space, which for us as actors was just such a joy to work to sort of play with because it felt so observational and real. Joy, on the other hand, had Jack does occasionally give you like a button or a one-liner, and it is a bit, and it's got that kind of um, there's a joyfulness to it. I mean, sorry to use that word, but there's a kind of there's a real it's imbued with hope and positivity, and it's a different tone, but it's and yeah, a different experience, but one which was equally meaningful and good people as well. Bill Nye, Thomas and Mackenzie.
Yeah.
Um, that film, this Noah's film, it feels very personal. He's what he calls a man of divorce rather than a child of divorce because he was 35 when his parent, or in his 30s when his parents divorced, at the same time as all his friends getting married. So it has a kind of personal history. This movie, Joy as well. Ben Taylor, the director, Jack Thorne, the writer, along with Rachel Mason, who also wrote the story with Jack, and they all have kids, IVF children. And so there was a very, very poignant feeling on set because, when you think about like a friend's child or even your own child, if it's an IVF baby, and then you multiply it, at the end, it's like is it two or 12? I can't remember how many million IVF children there are in the world. It just makes you realize how massive this piece of science is, this discovery. And Ben Taylor's said many times it's way bigger than the moon landing, which yes was impressive and affected some people in kind of some weird nebulous way, but to like attribute this piece of science to, sorry, these millions of lives to this discovery, the tenacity and brilliance of these three scientists, and the gift they gave to not just the scientific community but to all of us. the gift of life. It was just a wonderful story to tell, full of just good people doing a good thing for the greater good. You know, it's a rare story to tell in this kind of current, slightly complicated climate that we live in.
Yeah, yeah, is what makes it important. And I have a personal connection to it, which has to do with one of my best friends. So, you
Amazing.
know, yeah. And I actually rewatched Rogue Agent the same day, which is again, the
Uh,
diversity of roles that you choose is what a crazy twist that film
you're
has.
you're a good man for rewatching Rogue Agent, but also just I don't know anyone who does such kind of thorough prep and I guess it comes from a love of movies, but it's humbling for me to well, thank you for rewatching stuff. Yeah, that film. Yeah, it's funny. I'm doing a movie right now with Guy Ritchie called Wife and Dog, and I'm very lucky to be going toe to toe with the great Anthony Hopkins in a few scenes, which has been kind of amazing. As you know, it's one of those proper sort of pinch me moments when I sort of riled him up in a scene recently, and I saw across the desk his piercing blue eyes with their sort of the lids, looking at me. Kind of, it's chilling and a total privilege. And what's been really kind of bizarre and humbling is that Tony, he insists it's not Anthony or Sir Anthony, it's Tony. Tony has watched Rogue Agent and loved it, and he keeps wanting to talk to me about Free Guard and compare like Hannibal Lecter to Free Guard. I'm like, our tiny little, $3.5 million movie, and here I am talking to like the king of all, psychopath stories, Anthony Hopkins. Yeah, it's been really lovely, but. Yeah, I love that film, and it's really lovely to talk about it with Tony because it brings it all back and how, and that was the first thing I ever produced, so meant a lot to me.
Let's speak about King and Conqueror because you're also producing that, and it's about the Battle of Hastings, and I don't think a film has been done.
No, nothing. No TV show, no film. I mean, I think the Last Kingdom brought us up to the Battle of Hastings, but nothing's been done. Nothing, no drama yet. And it was kind of amazing when we got this idea through the wonderful writer Mike Johnson, who'd sort of been chomping at the bit to write this story, and we couldn't quite believe it because not only is it this hugely significant piece of history, particularly in England, it's like the first thing you learn as in your school, 1066. It's like it's the last time England was successfully invaded. We changed from a Saxon country to a Norman country essentially, and so much of our culture and our language, and it's all rooted in the Normans and the French. So massive moment. But also when we kind of started to talk to Mike, who's a history nut, loves this period, we realized that so much of the 20 years leading up to Battle of Hastings is like fascinating, knotty twists and turns. It's like a soap opera. It's amazing. Like, William and Harold met multiple times. They became friends. At some point during their friendship, they realized that because of the way modern Europe was being kind of carved up, they would probably end up on a battlefield, and one of them would probably have to die. And then, sure enough, episode 8, Battle of Hastings, you have these two friends turned adversaries looking at each other across a battlefield, knowing that one of them was going to kill the other. It's sort of amazing story which has never been told. So we're buzzing. Can't wait to get it out there in later on this year. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's exciting. Well, again, so many projects because you have Playing Nice, which isn't available here yet, but is available in the UK, correct?
Yeah, Play Nice will be coming to you for sure, and we're again very proud of it. We came out in the top of the year on ITV, and it did really well. We sort of broke records in terms of viewing figures, and one of those shows which it was just really again our first TV show we produced, and we had kind of playwrights and producers and very kind of illustrious people calling us up, loving it, and then we had every sort of shop and every security guy and guy and the cab driver, everyone had watched it and loved it. And it just felt like it was one of those really inclusive moments where we found something very human and recognizable. And yeah, very proud of that one. And I can't wait for that to come over here. Yeah, that's four-parter about two families that find out their kids were swapped at birth, as I'm sure you've read or heard about. So that's coming your way, as is King and Conqueror.
And House of
And
Guinness eventually, right?
House of Guinness. Yeah, I've got a lot of House of Guinness and then House of Dragon. I'm doing a lot of
House.
houses. Oh, houses is my thing at the moment. Yeah, House of Guinness is coming on Netflix at some point. Not sure when. I think it's coming in. I think it was announced that it's later this year rather than next, which is exciting. And then sometime later this year, I enter the Thrones universe and get that on. Yeah, put that on hat on, which is a whole other adventure, which I'm slightly intimidated by, but very excited about.
Yeah, so you're bouncing a lot. How are you dealing with it? Like inhabiting this character and that character.
Yeah, I mean, I just I don't think I overthink it too much, and it sounds so. I'm just very lucky, and I just I think it's the kind of classic truth about actors where however you're doing, and you're just worried that this is going to be the last one, and suddenly someone's going to find you out. Tony and I were talking about this, like everyone feels like a con man, that you're going to be found out, and it was really lovely to hear that from someone like Anthony Hopkins because he's just such a like he's the one of the most legendary actors in the world, and to hear that humility from him was just very special. So I'm just very grateful to be doing what I love and getting paid for it, and hopefully long may that continue. But in terms of the sort of juggling aspects. I have enough time in between. The announcements suggest this kind of big chaotic mess of characters, but actually they are self-contained, and you have time to prep um, and then what I love is when I have downtime, a month or two in between, I have the company, and Kitty, my business partners, always keep me very busy. So there's my mind and my temperament definitely suit busyness. I had a bit of a quiet January, and I had a bit of a freak out as a result. I think I like to be stimulated and kept busy, so it suits me this way.
I I completely understand. I always say to friends of mine who say that they're bored, I would love to know what it feels like to be bored because I don't think I have been in the last like 3 decades.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And I sort of seek it, and then when I find it, when I have a moment of calm and quiet, which I think I really must sort of take a beat and stop. And I don't know whether I'm addicted to the work and the race of it all, or just it's not my. But I want to feel it. I want to do what I love, which is, yeah, we're just clearly lucky we do what we love, and we want to do more of it, which is great.
I have to ask if there's been any word on a Little Life possibly in some incarnation coming to New York because you know what I felt about that show and
I do, and I'm very grateful. Yeah, thank you. I mean, a lot of people have asked that, and a lot of people who've seen it, who kind of feel like they want to, I think, see it again, and others who haven't seen it and have heard about it or have read the book who didn't quite get to see it. And I have a similar kind of those people who want to see it again. There's something in me. I think I probably said this to you before. I don't know why really, because I felt like I really did that play a lot, and it cost me a lot. Like I did it for many months, and it was remains, and it probably will always be the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I don't think. I mean, in terms of my job, and yet there's this kind of strange amnesia kicks in where you kind of go, oh, you forget how hard it was, and you actually there's this other kind of voice in my head going there's more to be explored there. To do it now, I'm a little older. It'll be a few years if we ever do it again. And luckily, the character of Jude is, straddles the range 5 to 55. So, there's no immediate rush to do it. And it's funny. I often think of about Mark Rylance and Denise Goff as well, who recently rekindled People, Places, and Things. And Mark Rylance, who said that he wants to do Jerusalem every 10 years. And I sort of understand where he comes from because it's not just the sort of nostalgia around a part and the thing I miss about Little Life is the kind of clarity of mind and that flow state, the sort of the drug where you're up there for 4 hours and you feel this just bizarre focus and the contribution to the relationship I had with the audience, the conversations I would have off stage about how meaningful and important that story is to so many. Those are all reasons to do it again, but also I want to know what it is to do it as a bit older. When I've changed, and I'm sure that I would be nourished by it and challenged by it in a totally different way. And that's sort of intriguing enough for me to have an appetite to do it. But in answer to your question, there's nothing concrete. It's still me kind of meditating on why do I want to do it again? And do I want to do it again? And probably, yes, I do want to do it again, but we'll have to wait for the right time. Um, and people's schedules to align and all the practical stuff. But there's conversations which will kind of keep bubbling under the surface, and maybe one day something will happen.
Good, that's good to hear. And there is time. I think of Jessica Lange, who did Mary Tyrone in Long Day's
Mm,
Journey in London in 2000. She did it
okay,
on Broadway. I believe it was 2016 or 2017, and she
there you go.
just made the film version. So,
There you go. There you go. We're
yeah,
good. I think Ramsey, who played the Jude in the first iteration, which was done Evo's company, Ita, when Evo was at Ita, I think he played it into his potentially early 50s, maybe, or at least definitely late 40s. So I'm not quite yet 40, so I have a bit of time. And yeah, it's funny. It's the kind of role where I see people who were in that cast with me. I'm seeing Amari, who played JB on Sunday this week, and we were on the phone a couple of days ago. It's funny when you see anyone who went through that experience, you sort of you have like a no, you catch their eye across a party or even just on a street, and you just have like a knowing look about what we shared, and we talk about whether we want to do it again. And I think people are similar headspace to me. Like it was so hard, but everyone's sort of intrigued. So we all keep chatting about what it will look like and when and if. But yeah, I don't think I'm not. It's not too late, and there's an appetite for it from both the audience and us. I think
and age-wise, I think you're fine because you still look 25. So, maybe
you're
in
very
10
kind.
years you'll look 30.
That's very kind, but totally not true. I had 2 years of my hair being dyed for things like House of Guinness and other jobs, and then I recently shaved it all off because there was so much dye in it, and I was uh, slightly perturbed to see that my temples have gone very silver. So, but thank you anyway. You're very kind.
Well, I want to end by asking about a film that I watched a while ago, which is Hampstead, that you have very few scenes in, but you got to work with Diane Keaton, who I just absolutely adore, and I wanted to ask what that experience was like, and also, did you have other scenes that were cut from the film?
I did I have other scenes that were cut from? I can't remember. It was quite a long time ago. It was always quite a small job, quite not many scenes, and the joy to go toe to toe with Diane Keaton was just like a dream. Obviously, any actor would not say no to that. Like I was, and also I was, it was many years ago, and so yes, it was a complete privilege in terms of the experience. I think I got to like have sushi with Diane and chat. We just flirted and chatted about everything, life and real estate and interior design and relationships. And she's actually a bit like Tony Hopkins, just so inquisitive. And I remember, you're with those kind of people, and all you want to do is hear their stories. You just want to like regale me with all your stories about the movies you've been on, the films you've worked on, and these iconic like experiences. And it's always a bit of a struggle because they're really those types of people are, and I think it's a sign of intelligence when people are ask more questions than they answer. But both I remember Diane and Tony just want to know. They want to hear about you. They want to talk, and so you're constantly going, yeah, but I don't want to talk about me. I want to hear about you and your life. So it was just lovely. I mean, she's joyful and kind and just full of warmth and energy and all. I can honestly say, hand on heart, like, all the things, all you expect and more. It was, but yeah, I wish I had more scenes in that film. Um, Maybe I'll find her and we'll do something else. Maybe.
I think that's a great idea. James, I want to thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving us all this incredible work that we get to enjoy and take in. It's much appreciated.
Well, people like yourself who watch everything and then rewatch them and prepare so thoroughly for these interviews. It's remarkable. So, you
Only
know,
when I really like them.
we're kind. We wouldn't have anyone to, yeah, your appetite and love for it is what kind of sustains this whole mad industry. So yeah, thank you. And always a great interview. It's always lovely chatting to you.
Likewise, you have a great day.
And you. Cheers.